Let's go ahead and bring in Steiner Sports CEO, Brandon Steiner.
One of the country's top memorabilia moguls.
I have an unbelievable guest, Brandon Steiner.
Brandon's second to none.
This guest knows how to nail down the growth that you need in business. If you're interested in business, and first of all, you're interested in your team, I can't believe how many just common sense nuggets from this book. The Power of the Positive Team. Power of a Positive Team is a must book. Do not buy one of these books. Don't. Buy 3. One for you, probably one for your boss or somebody else that's running a team and not doing that great a job, and then someone you just know outright needs help building their team. Welcome to the program. And by the way, if you've got some questions, participate with Jon Gordon, author of The Energy Boss, the 7 C's, right?
7 C's.
7
You win in the locker room first.
By the way, the 7 C's, one of my favorites. You win in the locker room first is a must read if you're a football coach, or just a manager of any team. I don't even know what to recommend first, but look up Jon Gordon and just buy as many of his books as you can, because they've all been helpful to me. And you know I don't get on this program and start talking like that. No. That's how much of a fan I am. And thank you. I mean, it's just a pleasure to have you here.
It's an honor to be here.
I mean, it's just awesome. And I was reading a bunch of this book the last couple of days, and I think I said to you, like, this is this common sense, simplistic, which is kind of what you need probably to build a team. Why did you write this book at this particular time? What brought you here?
I wrote You Win in the Locker Room First with Mike Smith, and that was about building your team. The Power of Positive Leadership is about a leader building their team. It's a framework for great leadership, but I wanted to write a book for teams. I work with so many teams, and I would give these talks on what makes a great team great and becoming a great team and the power of a positive team, and it resonated so much with the teams. I said, I need to put this into a book, and it's really a framework for a team coming together to become a great team. So I believe if a team reads this together and says, okay, what do we need to do? What are we lacking? What do we need to focus on? Because it is common sense, but they'll say, okay, you know what? We're not connected. So we need to be more connected so we could become more committed. If they see where they're lacking, what they need to focus on, they're going to become a stronger team in the process.
So this book is for someone who's either part of a team, managing a team, and wants to improve their team.
Yes, and I would love for teams to read it together. It's really designed in that way. But if a leader reads it and uses the principles for their team, that will work. But if a team reads it together, they're going to see maximum impact.
Was there any particular team that kind of motivated you to take you to this? I know you're a Dabo Swinney fan who I met recently. I love him. Or is it?
Yeah, I mean, that's my experience of working with all the teams I've worked with. So let's say Clemson football the last 6 years. There's elements of what we did there in this book. Work with the LA Dodgers the last 3 years. Dave Roberts was a rookie manager. We started working together. So what did I say to that team? How did I help them become more connected? Some of those principles are in there. Miami Heat, worked with Eric Spoelstra in the Heat the last 3 years. They started the season 11-30 last year, finished 30-11, right? Not a great team.
Why? Wow. How are they able to turn that around?
Yeah, think about that. Say he won Coach of the Year. They didn't make the playoffs. Think about that. It was because they really stayed positive. So many teams give up when it gets tough. They give up when they get discouraged. One of the biggest things a team can do is just to stay positive and not allow the negativity to sabotage them. So they stayed positive, and they really had a great bond. They were very connected. They loved each other. And when you love each other, you're going to fight for each other. While other teams were giving up the second half of the year, like, we're done, season's over. These guys were still battling, still fighting. And somehow, some way, they came one game short of making the playoffs.
Like versus love. That kind of grabbed my attention. But something I think about Steiner here. We always try to find players that people love, not just like. Explain to me that.
Steve Scheinbaum taught me this as I was interviewing him about his work with teams. He does a lot of games with teams to help them become more high performing. And he told me a lot of teams like each other, but they don't want to deal with the difficult conversations. They don't want to have any disagreements, so they never move to love. It's all surface level. No one wants to rock the boat. This is big with the millennials and the younger generation because they want to be liked, so they don't want to deal with any kind of controversy or confront anything that will make them a stronger team. So they stay surface level, but then they never become a great team. They never move to love. It's like if you're married, you have to have the difficult conversations about what you're not doing right, what you're doing wrong, and so you can get better because of it. I love Tell the Truth Mondays that Seattle Seahawks do. You know, Pete Carroll is famous for that.
I don't follow that. What do they do?
Tell the Truth Mondays. Every Monday, tell the truth. Sunday's the game. Monday, it's like, all right, here's what you did wrong. Here's what we did wrong. Here's how we can get better. So everyone knows, all right, Monday you might get called out, but it's not meant to demean you. It's meant to make us better. So you expect it. You know it's coming if you didn't make a good play.
That's your one window of opportunity to be transparent and be a little vulnerable. We hear the real reality of it.
And you confront it. So people say to a player, hey, you messed up. You didn't do this. Okay. All right, but no one gets defensive because they know it's tell the truth, and it's all about making the team better. So when you have those difficult conversations, it allows you to grow.
Faith or fear? And I was just having a conversation with an athlete, a professional one, and she said that she was a little bit fearful. I said, geez, you cannot be fearful and faithful at the same time. Yep. Only one can happen, and right now you're living in fear.
Yep.
How do I get you over to faith? What's your take on that in the book?
Yeah. As you become successful, when you're successful like you are and professional athletes are, people think that you have less fear, but sometimes you could have more fear because you have more to lose, farther to fall, and you know what? Like when you're starting out, you're a rookie, so you're like, I got nothing to lose. You're just going for it. So the key is to remember to focus on the love of it. If you love it, you can't fear it. Love casts out fear. Love is more powerful than fear. So if you show up every day, I would advise her, go to your game, love playing. Love the moment. Get back to that love you had of playing the game and don't worry about the outcome. You didn't get to where you are now by fearing things. You got to where you are by just going for it and being your best and just loving the game. Get back to that, play the game, and let the outcome take care of itself. Same thing with successful professionals as well. They start to have a lot of success, they have a lot of fear. No, just keep doing what you do. A little bit of fear is good, but not the fear that paralyzes you and keeping you from being your best.
I noticed like a lot of your books, John, are like for the entire company. Like the No Complaining was a book we bought for our whole company.
No Complaining Rule.
So like, the energy bus was like our whole company. Take responsibility for the energy you bring into the room. And that was a conversation you had with your wife, technically speaking.
Right.
Which, thank God, you had a good relationship for her to set you straight. I'm sure she's wants some of those royalties.
She's half. She's a half owner, so she
exactly.
gets them all.
If you're half, you're ahead of the game. I mean, I'm on a minority percentage here with. I feel like lately,
minority percent. I work for my wife.
I don't know how I work my way to that after 30 years of marriage, but like I'm my percentage keeps diminishing, going down.
Mine is too.
Ownership. I'm not sure how I got there, but it seems like you always have a broad vision, which is what I was kind of getting to. Like sometimes a lot of authors write a book for someone. You seem to write a book for a group. Where does that mindset come from?
Well, I really write it for the individual and then how that individual impacts their team. So you can read this if it's just you, but Energy Bus, The Carpenter, Training Camp, you can read it to be your best, but we're not meant to be by ourselves. We're not meant to live in isolation. And so as we become our best, our goal and our purpose should be to bring out the best in others. And then it's how you impact others that you're with, others you work with, your community, your friends. I look at the model like you're in the middle of a bullseye and it's not you. And you have to feed yourself, right? But as you start to grow yourself, you now impact the people around you. So now the bullseye goes outward and you actually start to have a ripple effect on everyone around you.
I love that. That's a nugget right there in itself. This book, your best book, your most common sense book. If I was going to read your book, all of a sudden we have a lot of viewers out there and they're reading you for the first time, do you start with this book or?
I always say you start with The Energy Bus. It was the first book I wrote. Seems to be the most popular. Well, it is the most popular book of anything I've written, and that's the foundation because this is everything I've learned since writing The Energy Bus. The last 11 years, Power Positive Leadership is everything I've written and learned about leadership. Last 11 years. So Energy Bus is the foundation, and then I would read this one or The Power of Positive Leadership after that, or The Carpenter. People say The Carpenter is actually my best written book, but I got a nice note from the coach of USC tennis, Peter Smith, won 5 national championships, incredible coach. He said, John, this is your masterpiece, is what he said. So it was really nice to get that feedback.
And right on point, though.
Yeah. And again, it's a quick read, and it just takes you through the framework of being a great team. Culture, right? How do we share a vision to have greater purpose? How do we lead with optimism and belief and come together to stay positive? Confronting the negativity on the team, and then creating an environment where we communicate, connect, commit, and care, and then how do we strive to get better? So it really encompasses everything a team needs to do.
That's fair. Where do you get your inspiration from? I mean, where things going back to your beginning, how things got started? Who are the more positive people in leadership, motivation for you?
Well, it's someone that you and I both know, Ken Blanchard. I mean, Ken Blanchard was my role model. He was my mentor. When I met Ken, he taught at Cornell. I went to Cornell. And so he was a legend at Cornell. And going there, you heard of Ken Blanchard. You knew, of course, the 1 Minute Manager.
No question.
Yeah, the biggest best-selling business book of all time, right? From a business standpoint. And so when I met Ken, I saw a man that I wanted to be like, the way he led, the kind of person he was, so kind.
So spiritually gifted.
Yeah, spiritually gifted, so
and
generous, just generous and warm and loving and very humble. And there was something about him that
And fun.
And fun. And
right?
fun,
and
yeah,
funny.
Yeah. And he actually, people don't know, he gives you a hard time. Like he razzles you. So he's just such a great guy. We just did a retreat recently in the mountains of San Francisco area, and just had such a great time together doing this retreat on servant leadership. Here he was, 78 years old, and he was just as dynamic as ever. So he was someone I really looked up to.
He's so much
I still
fun.
do.
Oh, I mean, he's just amazing. Now, did you ever think you had some ups and downs?
Yeah.
Did you ever think you were going to be able to crank out these books
No.
and people read them?
No.
And what got you through that tough time?
No, I never thought anyone would read them, and I never.
The Energy Bus wasn't a big seller at the beginning.
Took
if I'm not
5 years,
mistaken, right?
Took 5 years.
5 years. I
Yeah.
mean, that's like an
Took 5
eternity.
years, yeah, it was a long time of just hustling and sharing the message. But that's where you learn to be humble. It's where you learn your craft. It's where you learn that, is this for real or not? Like, are you the real deal? Are you just in it for the money? Are you in it to just be a success? Or are you in it to make a difference? And my thing was to inspire and empower as many people as possible, one person at a time. And I knew that if I just focus on that, if I love serve care, which is the carpenter, if I love serve care, show up every day and do that, don't focus on building your business, just love serve care, and your business will exponentially grow. Over time it did. So I've lived the principles as you have that I teach, and so now those principles are real, and I can talk about them even more. If I had instant success, I don't think I would know what it's like to go through adversity, and I wouldn't have the grit that I have. You know, I was a gritty athlete. Played lacrosse at Cornell.
And that's when Cornell was good.
Yeah, well, they're good again.
They're good again.
They're better.
They're
I'd
good.
be a water boy now. They're so good. But I was a gritty athlete, and then I learned, grit in terms of having to be this way in business.
That's amazing. Now, some of the coaches you've been able to coach, can you give us a little insight? Because you have hung with some pretty cool people.
Yeah, I never thought that would happen either. That's been pretty cool. Well,
how has that come about, and what are some of the more valuable lessons you've learned from some of those coaches?
The first coach that ever reached out to me was Jack Del Rio in 2007. He was the coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, reached out, legend, right? And I get a call out of the blue and wants to meet with me. Went down to meet with him, and we talked about overcoming negativity, because he was dealing with a lot of negativity in Jacksonville. And so he read the Energy Bus, really resonated with the energy vampires, and we talked about that. And Jack, did a great job of really introducing that to his team, and had a great season that year. Made the playoffs, beat the Steelers in the first round, lost to the Patriots, but that was one of their last great seasons.
Now, were you able to? They brought you in actually, and you spoke to the whole team at that time.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I read about that.
Yep.
Were the guys open to that? I mean, was that?
That was the first team I ever spoke to. Not even a high school team, not even a college team. That was the first team I walked down.
Had to be intimidating.
It was Maurice Jones-Drew and Fred Taylor.
It's not a
all these
small
superstars.
group either.
No, and then
big.
No, but you know what? I played sports, so I just got up there, and something within me just came out, said, just help them get better. Like, say what needs to be said. I talked about energy vampires. I talked about staying positive, not allowing negativity to sabotage your team. And after that, Mike Smith then calls the following year when he became the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And then he brought me to the Falcons, did the Energy Bus there as well. And so began my path of working with teams. Other
That's
coaches
cool.
started to hear
That book
it.
was cool.
Yeah, and so then, Dave Roberts reads You Win in the Locker Room First. He reaches out, started working with the Dodgers. Eric Spoelstra has read a number of my books, has given my books to various players, started working with them. So it comes from the coaches reading the books and then reaching out. Then we develop a relationship, and then I wind up working with the team. Sean McVeigh, though, one of my recent favorites. I was working with Sean last year when he was a rookie coach, and just seeing the success that he had. First time I met with him, I was like, this guy's 31 years old. and just
crazy.
leadership off the charts, like leadership capabilities, leadership knowledge. I was blown away by his leadership. I said that he's going to be an incredible coach in the NFL. Didn't know he was going to be coach of the year his first year, but he did a great job.
Your newsletter's awesome.
Thank you.
And I get a lot of different newsletters. Don't give them all the kind of love that I'd like to maybe, but yours seems like they just come right at the right time. How much time do you put into those, and where do people get them if they want to sign up?
Yeah, JonGordon.com, JON-Gordon.com. It's free. Been doing it since 2002.
It's very generous because you could see this. It's not just a quick little scrap, a few things together. There's always a very strong message in there and well put together. I love the one you did with Dabo Sweeney. I sent that out to a gazillion people. Which talked about what it takes to have a winning team, I think.
It was Championship Lessons.
Yeah.
That was probably one of my best ones I've written in terms of
amazing.
What made them successful. People have said it should be a book, but Dabo needs to write his book, on his own when he's ready to do it. He actually has that offers, but he is not ready to write a book. He said, I'm still leading my team.
Such a humble guy.
He goes, I'm still leading my team, and I'm still parenting my kids right now. I still have to be there for my kids. I don't have time to write a book. How cool is that? He could have written a book after his championship.
He's not in the money grab
No,
mode.
he's not looking for that.
No.
And, but yeah, I learned a lot working with him. I mean, one of the greatest leaders, honestly, I've ever met.
A lot of balls. Like we talk about, you got to have balls here. Like,
I love your book, by the way.
And thank you. But also a guy who had no part of copying something. He's like, I'll do my thing. I'm not trying to be like Alabama. I'm not trying to be like Ohio State. I'll be like Clemson.
Yep. And
I love that.
I love that. And Alabama was all about the process, but Dabo said we're going to be about relationships that drive the process. So a little bit different mindset, right? Relationship first. Process. He's big on process, but he knew he had to compete with Alabama. So everyone says they're a lot like Alabama, the way they're built, and he's used a lot he's learned from Alabama.
Yeah.
But then he put his own spin on it and his own style and his own uniqueness, his own love, his own relationship building, brings in great coaches. People don't realize what a great leader is behind the scenes, like what he does intentional. I mean, when he has a meeting with his coaches before the season, a book about 18 inches thick, and he goes through it page by page for 4 full days, 8 hours a day with his coaches, just his coaches, 4 full days, page by page. This is what made our program great. This is what we learned over the years.
Wow. So there's a lot of direction and commitment to that direction.
Yeah, because he says we can't forget what got us here. This is everything that got us here along the way.
It's amazing how many coaches and even business leaders I run into that don't have a strategy or a strategy chart or a really clear understanding of who their customer is or where they've been, what went right and wrong.
I know, isn't it crazy?
That's shocking. Yeah. And even if you're a small business person out there, know where you've been, know where you're going, and know what your real true objectives are.
I think the key is to have direction and a vision of what you want. I believe business plans, though, are overrated because you're going to change along the way.
I use a chart. 1 page.
I like a chart. I like it, to be able to look at and see where you're going and then what would guide you. Because, for instance, for me, I'm entering a new business now that I never thought I'd be in a year ago. And I'm entering a new business, would have never planned on it, not part of my business
What
plan.
business?
It's called Positive Brands. And so
what's that about? Were you going to hold out on that, or we're 18 minutes into this conversation?
It's very new. It's apparel.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Apparel that has positive messages. I was going to wear my shirt today, but couldn't get back in time for. I'm going to send you one. So it's Stay Positive. Right?
I love that
That's
stuff,
like Stay Positive. Oh, I was walking around New York with my Stay Positive shirt. I had so many people comment in New York, and I had one woman in a restaurant. She said she was real nice to me, even though I have food allergies, and she said, I want to take care of you because you got that shirt on. Because we're bringing some positive energy.
Is that one of the more positive? Is that one of the more positive popular items? Stay Positive, or what couple of the others?
We're only 2 weeks old, so
we like to crack things here at Steiner.
We just started, and then we're also coming up.
Stay Positive. What's the other one though? Give me 1 or 2 others that you have.
A shirt that just says positive, but it goes down the shirt this way, and then we have a no complaining shirt with complaining and a line.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really
I got
cool
the wristbands in a no complain when I bought a bunch of the books for everybody here.
Okay, we got those. Yeah. And the wristbands, and we're going to be coming up with different shirts along the way, with different sayings to really encourage people.
Cool.
Yeah, we're going to have a culture shirt that just says culture on it, and then you'll be able to put your own logo with the culture. So you have culture and then your logo, so you can buy it for your team as well.
A lot of books and everything are for management, but what do you tell employees out there that are watching and work for other people about how important it is for them to be contributors to the culture, contributors to the winning?
Yeah,
how do they get started?
Well, it's to know that the leaders set the tone, but everybody creates the culture. So every day you are creating your culture by what you think, by what you say, and by what you do. You can elevate it by what you say. You can improve it by what you think. You could transform it by what you do on a daily basis. And so it's to know that you are contributing to your culture. So if you don't like your culture, great. Then be a solution. Be a change agent. Decide to change it. Yes, I know leaders have their part. They have to set the tone. But no matter what your leaders are doing, if you are in a department of a company and say you have a division, then make your division great. I've had departments say, you know what, we're going to be a great team. I wrote this book to say, okay, let's be a great team. No matter what the company is doing, we're going to be a great team. And then what happens is you become a model for the rest of the company when you do that.
Power of a positive team. How important do you think it is to have the relationship between employees? I think people discount the respect and the connection that employees have with each other. There's so much onus on the employee-employer.
Right.
But I think that it's about the employee-employee respect and relationship that it gets understated.
It is. The leader's job is to connect with their team, but then get the team to connect with each other. And that's what they don't do often. You have to make sure that you're creating connection and an environment for your team to connect. It's what Dave Roberts has done so well with the Dodgers. He doesn't just connect with his team, he gets his team to connect with each other. And it's why when they started the season so bad this year, next thing you know, they're now over 500.
Yeah, they're playing a lot better.
They're playing great.
I wouldn't count them out.
But they stayed the course.
Yeah.
They stayed positive. They stayed
Yeah.
connected. They said, we're not going to allow this negativity to bring us down.
Yeah.
And when you have a team that's connected to each other. So I'm a big believer in peer accountability. Peer accountability. I call it horizontal accountability.
Meaning?
More than vertical. So vertical is boss to employee.
Employees
Horizontal
managing
is
employees.
employee to each other. And when you have great connection and great relationships, what happens is you now have peer accountability, because if you really love each other, you're going to be your best for each other. A team that has great relationships doesn't need a lot of rules, because they're all rowing and all focused and driving in the same direction.
Pulling each other.
Yes.
They don't need to be pushed because they're pulling each other.
They're accountable to each other. And I'm not big on rules, I'm big on standards. So
Take me through that. Rules versus standards.
Yeah, so great leaders.
You feel a lot of companies have standards, but
Yeah, they
not
have
enough,
standards.
yeah.
No, they have rules, not standards.
Not enough standards.
Not enough standards. So they're focused on the rules. Do it because I said so. This is our policy. No, have a standard of excellence, and you inspire the team, and the team inspires each other and challenges each other to live up to those standards. Not rules, but standards, a standard of excellence. So being a positive team is not just about having fun together and just, going to games and hanging out and playing foosball. It's also about pursuing greatness together. We're here to accomplish something great.
And that can initiate, not only from leadership, but that can initiate within.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple questions for John. We got a few minutes here.
John, you've interacted with plenty of famous coaches and influencers around the world, but what's been some of your unique interactions with specific players from teams you've spoken to?
Those are the hardest because I really can't talk about a lot of those because of the relationship and the engagement. Like, I can't say Damian Lillard, he read my book Training Camp twice before his rookie season, and he gave me a quote for that book, and he just said it was a book that reminded him to focus on what matters most and reminded him of how hard he would have to work to make it in the NBA. Now he's a superstar. People think he's just a talented guy. No, that guy worked so hard. Training Camp was a book he read that really inspired him to work that hard. So I was really honored when he reached out to me after his rookie year. I didn't know he was going to become what he became, but it's I really
imagine a lot of players read the energy bus because I don't think they realize whatever they're going through, the effect it has on the group.
Yeah, I hear from a lot of players who have read Training Camp and Energy Bus and so forth. But a cool story was I was at the Miami Dolphins the other day, went there to meet with the head of player engagement. We were just talking about leadership and team building. Next thing you know, one of the coaches heard I was there, came down, brought me up. Next thing you know, I'm in the quarterback room, and now I'm with the quarterbacks, and we're talking about some tips there. And Brock Osweiler said that he read Training Camp each year before his rookie season, so that was cool to hear.
Big.
Again, but when guys call, again, I'll talk to them. I try to help them through their challenges, and I get a lot of different calls or texts, and I'm there for those guys, but I really can't talk about it.
By the way, we should give away one copy of this book, by the way. Right?
We can give a few away, and then I'll just get you some. I'll get you some to give away.
Ben, what should we do? Let's give away a signed copy. A couple.
Just share the video and comment below to win a signed book.
Yeah, and tell us what you like about Jon Gordon or any of his books. Any positive comments? We'll pick a few winners out. We'll send out a couple. I've got all his books in my office. I'm like a Jon Gordon library. I know you think I'm sucking up here. Don't even go. You know I don't do that. But hey, the guy has nailed it with so many books, and it's hard to find that. You see people have written a good book here or there, but you seem to have a little bit of a knack of consistently nailing down something that can actually put right into play in the workplace, and that's what I like. It's not a complicated. I'm more of a simplistic guy myself as far as putting something into play, and that's what I like about your books.
Yeah, it's funny. People say to me like, "Wow, it's so genius the way you take these complicated stuff and make it so simple." I go, "No, that's just the way I think. I am not that smart. I just think simply."
Yeah, and it helps. It helps for some of us that aren't maybe that smart like me. A couple more, yeah.
What advice would you give to a team with very high expectations, such as the Yankees or a team like the Golden State Warriors, who have often said the hardest part is getting through the regular season and being able to maintain expectations?
Right. So it's expecting to be great, but don't worry about the expectations of others. So as a team, you're going to have high expectations of yourselves, but don't let that cause fear. Instead, let that cause hustle and passion and drive and purpose. And so make sure that you're focusing on, winning for each other. And you're going to win for your fans. You want to win for them, but you don't need to win for them. And so when there's this pressure and you feel the outside forces, then you become outside in. Teams that are outside in become very weak. You want to be a team that's inside out. That we know that our passion, our purpose, our joy, and our love from inside is what creates success on the outside. And Golden State did a great job of being inside out focused.
That's a good one.
Does that make sense?
That's a great one. Yeah, absolutely. One more?
Along the same lines, David Nash asks on Facebook, what teams do you think really use the words in your book the best? What team is the most positive?
Wow.
There's a bunch.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that use it. I mean, I would say no one lives it more than Clemson in terms of Dabo Swinney. Again, I'm only as good as the coaches that are leading. I don't get any credit for anything, and I shouldn't get any credit. I spoke to the Cleveland Browns 2 years ago. How'd that go? Not well. So I know it's not me. It's always the culture, it's always the leadership, and it's always how that leader drives that bus forward. So I would say Dabo does an incredible job of love and accountability that I write about. Make sure you love your players, love your team, make sure they love each other, but hold them accountable to being great.
I love that.
Yeah, love and accountability.
You have a feast in here of nuggets, all kinds of different stuff for your newsletter. I mean, you're a manager out there. This is a no-brainer, coach. You can really bring this on. I think, to me, I got to take a book like this over about a month for my team to really digest. Because we're really in the middle of reinventing our team here at Steiner. The power of the positive theme. Jon Gordon's the guest. Jon, thank you for joining us. We're going to have some fun. We're going to go diagnose the Yankees.
I'm fired up.
Yeah, I'm curious to see your take on that team because the dynamics, there's so much pressure on this team.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there's going to be, but you'll see the ballpark is buzzing. The expectations
My first
are
time
high.
there.
First Yankee game ever.
Never. I grew up in New York, so I went to Yankee games, but I'd never been to the new stadium.
You're going for a treat.
I'm fired
a
up.
Red Sox fan or a Yankee fan?
No, Yankee fan.
Yankee fan.
I grew up a Yankee fan.
All right.
Now I root for the Dodgers.
Just making sure,
them.
man. Yeah, making sure.
No, I grew up a Yankee fan. Grew up in Long Island, New York, and Smithtown.
Cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jon, for joining. I appreciate you. Really.
Thanks, Brandon. Thanks so
Keep up
much.
the good work.
No, thank you for your great work.
Great book.